Just so if you're watching the recording, boys and girls, today what we're doing in this video is we're going to be reviewing yesterday's math homework 1.3, and then we're going to be going over lesson 1.4 so that you have an idea of what we're going to be doing. It's very important right now that you get your math homework out on your desk or your table or whatever you're working on and have it ready to check. We're going to be going over our math homework, and then we're going to be watching a math lesson about how to do lesson 1.4, which is representing the thousands place. So on your desk right now, you should have your math homework. If you don't have your math homework, it's very important that you do have that out. We want to check it right now. In order to check our math homework, you're going to need to see the answers. So let me go ahead and open up the answers. I like to go over the answers with you as a class because that way if you have questions or you're like not sure how we got an answer, you can see the answer on the answer sheet. Later on, if you miss this part of the meeting and you just want to look at the answers on your own, you can do that too. Just make sure that you have any questions, you just email us so we can help you. If there's something about the homework you're not sure how we got that answer. If you use the printout, you can go ahead and just use the printout and shade the things in. If you didn't use the printout, I want you to make sure that you use draw out these models for me. So we're going to go ahead and get started. This is our first ones right here. Carter, what's your question?
How do you get the printout? Like, where do you find it to print it out?
Carter, what I'll do is, and that's a really good question. I may not have actually gone over that. I kind of was like sort of in that mood where I'm like, oh yeah, I'll post it on the assignments, but I forgot to tell you where. So I'm going to take a quick break here and show everybody that. Mr. Yates has a website, and I'm going to show that to you right now. Our class website. If you want to go, and also the homework should be also in the agenda too. But just in case if you don't have the agenda around with you, let me show you the first place you should always go. If you want to look for your homework, you should always usually see it where it says click here to view math homework. Today that's the homework for today. But if you wanted to look for homework and you don't have the agenda, you can always go to my website, which is right here, and you'll see something called first quarter assignments. And when you go to first quarter assignments, you'll see a little folder for the week's assignments. And then you'll find it in here. And you'll notice right here, there's answers for the homework. There's also the homework too. So you can always go to the class website if you don't have the agenda with you. But my first step would probably go to the agenda. And then if you can't find it there, or if you don't have the agenda around, just use the class website and you'll find it there. And if all else fails and you're just not sure where it's at, email me and I'll let you know. Gab, you have a question before we start on our math homework?
Yes. When you send me the email, it doesn't give me a link to the agenda anymore. It just says that it's posted at the class website.
Oh, there should be an agenda a link that goes right beside that. So let me know. It should have had the link in there today. And you know what, boys and girls, let's take a little break really quick here to show you also something else. If somehow the agenda you don't see it when you get your email, on the class website, there is a place where it says daily agendas, and you'll see the agendas here posted. So you can look, like here's today's agenda, and you can click on it there. So there's always a place for it. And Gabby, let me know if you're not starting to get those agendas on the links because they actually are posted as a link, but I'm always worried about emails messing up. So let me know if that's not happening for you every day, okay? Chase P, do you want to answer your question? We're going to start on our math.
Last week there was a link that you sent us and it wasn't active.
Okay, go ahead and email me, Chase, and let me know what link you're trying to find separately, and then I'll try to find that for you. Okay.
But I could just find the agenda in Google.
That's awesome. Great. All right, we're going to go ahead and go over our assignment right now. So I want to pull that up. So what I'll do is let me get back to where I was on the assignment, and I want to make sure I have it up here. Looks like our answers, oh, you know what, I think it closed out accidentally, so let me go ahead and open that up one more time, and then we'll get started about this one. So let me get back to my agenda, and then we'll open up our, so while I'm doing all this, I want you to remember to get your your math homework ready to go. We're going to go over it. All right, let's take a look. So What you should have right now is you should see numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. What I'd like you to do is make sure, and just to check here, first of all, we're going to be showing each fraction. We're going to shade the model to show each fraction. Then I'm going to write each fraction in word form. So make sure you have those in word form and shaded. I don't care what color you use to shade this, boys and girls, but for 4/10, you need to have it shaded as 1, 2, 3, 4/10 shaded right here. And also make sure you write the words 4/10. I am a big stickler about spelling, so make sure you spell tenths correctly. If you didn't spell it the way you see it right here, make sure that you spell it and fix it correctly. Up here we have 8/10, and then again you're going to take your tenths and shade 8 of them. And then make sure you have the word 8/10 and make sure tenths is spelled correctly. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go down and look at number 3. On 3, we have it in the hundredths place. I know this is actually a lot of little squares to write, but hopefully you were able to draw a model of 100 squares here. If you have the printout, you can just print it out and then shade it in. You should have shaded 1, 2, 3, 4/10 here and then 5 hundredths so that you end up with 45 hundredths. One thing I really want you to be attentive to is that little hyphen between the 40 and the 5. That actually is our important to use because whenever a number is less than 100 and more than 20, we want a hyphen between it. Gabby, what's your question?
I wrote an answer sentence on the printout page 2.
And
so it might look a little different than it might look like my words are spelt wrong because I kind of crammed it in a little bit.
okay, you need to, if you're starting to get, sometimes if you're starting to get a little crammed, you can write your answers on a lined piece of paper too. You can shade in your models and write your answers on a lined piece of paper just so you don't have to squish. So don't feel like you have to squish. You can always add in somewhere else or show your work somewhere else. On number 4, we have 76 over 100, which is equivalent to 76 hundredths. Make sure you spell that and THS at the end there. I like to emphasize that because we're talking about hundredths, which are small little pieces, not hundreds, which are much, much bigger. Make sure you have 76 squares highlighted over here. And then you're good. We're going to move on to the next page. Okay. And on this one, you don't have to redraw the models. They've already given them for you. All you do is you're going to be writing the decimal. If you write these as answer sentences, the decimal is perfect. I love how you write that answer sentence. So if you said here, the decimal is, and then you said 2/10, excellent. I want you to make sure you have that 0 in front of the 2 and the decimal. So it should be 0.2. Very, very important to put a 0 in front of the decimal place so that you don't we don't confuse it with a whole number. Okay, over here the same thing, 0 and 7 hundredths for number 6. For number 7, we're going to end up with 9/10 or 90 hundredths. I do want you to put a 0 at the end here to show that it's 90 hundredths, but actually it's not required to have a 0 at the end because 9/10 is the same as 90 hundredths. Derek, what's your question?
I accidentally wrote fractions instead of decimals.
Okay, go ahead and fix those for me because the actual directions were for you to write a decimal. So make sure that you correct those to show the decimal versions of those, okay? We're going to go on to number 8. 8 is showing a decimal here. They also, again, remember they want you to write a decimal. And so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 0 and 6/10, making sure that you have a 0 in front of the decimal. We're going to move on down. Problem solving. We're going to use some number sense. I would like to have somebody help me to read this out because I feel like I've been talking all morning and I want someone else to help me out here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on our problem And Miss Church, could you go ahead and pick someone to read number 9 for me so that we can see what that's all about? Maisie, you want to go and mute your microphone? Take a look at your screen and read number 9. Use number sense. And by the way, it's Papua New Guinea as the country.
I wrote the female.
Wait, no. I want you to read the question for me, please. And then we'll talk about your sentence.
The largest butterfly in the world is found in
Papua New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea. The female of this species weighs about 9/10 of an ounce. 9/10 ounces. Use a decimal to write the female's weight.
Great. And you said it right the first time there. It's 9/10 of an ounce. They don't actually have the words of an ounce, but it's actually easier to say it that way than 9/10 ounce. So good job. What would an answer sentence be for this one, Maisie? You were about to say it, and then I told you to go say something else. So you look like you did a good job with that answer sentence. What was that answer sentence there?
The female butterfly weighs about 0.9 ounces.
That's excellent. A lot of detail in your answer sentence there, Maisie. Definitely want to have that's a great answer sentence. The required word in the answer sentence would definitely have to be ounce. I want you to make sure you have ounce in there. If you said the female's weight, that's perfect too. I also want to make sure that you have 0 in front of the decimal and a decimal and then 9/10. Jace P, what's your question?
What if I put 9/10 as a decimal is 0.9?
That's okay, because it says use a decimal to write the female's weight. I kind of like how Maisie did it too, because she said the female's weight is 9/10 of an ounce as a decimal, and that's fine too. Either way is going to work. All right, let's go down to vocabulary check. Okay, the answer for this first one, and I would like you boys and girls, if you're writing this on line paper, to write the entire answer sentence when you fill in the blank. I didn't explain that the last time, but if you could do that from now on, that would be great. The correct word here, I'm going to just close that out because I don't want to circle right now, is a decimal point. Is used to separate the ones place from the tens place. So check to see that you've got the word decimal point in there, and make sure you've written the entire sentence. I would really like that whole sentence in there. Make sure decimal is spelled correctly. And Jace P, go ahead.
On 11, I didn't know 30 in word form for both like 32 hundredths and 32 tenths. I didn't know those were part of the answer.
Jace, let's go ahead and we'll take a look at that. I'm not there yet, so I want to make sure I know what you're talking about before we get to it. So I'm going to just answer Gabby and then Abby. So Gabby, go ahead and ask your question.
So for number 10, I showed a model to explain it too, like how I got it. Does that count as an answer sentence or whatever?
You really didn't need to do that on this one because it's just asking you to choose the correct words to put in there. But if you did a little bit extra to show what you're thinking, that's fine. I would like you to just make sure that you have that whole answer sentence written out with the words decimal point in it.
Yeah, I still have the answer sentence that they gave me, and I put decimal point in it, but I sort of showed how I got that.
That's good. We're going to go on to the next part here, which is circle all the following. And it's very important that you look at this one word here that may have tricked some of you up. All of the following. That means there's more than one, probably maybe more than one correct answer. And if you notice, there is. The fraction 32 hundredths can also be word form and then the decimal. They're both right here, the correct answer. So make sure you have both of those circled. One is not all the way correct. You need to have both. Abby?
For number 10, I said a decimal is used to separate the ones place from the tens place.
Make sure that you include the word point, because that's really actually the most accurate answer for that one. A decimal is actually technically the whole number that we talk about. It's the entire number after the decimal point is a decimal. The decimal point is actually the dot itself. Jace P.
This is the one that I was talking about. So I didn't circle the word form because I didn't know that was part of it.
Okay, now you do. So just make sure you correct that up, circle that up so that you know that that also is the correct. If you wrote these down, that you could write this on your line piece of paper saying the following represent 32 over 100, 32 hundredths, and the decimal 0 and 32 hundredths.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go ahead and what I'd like to do is if you have, today we're not going to do a flip grid for this assignment. I would like you to know that it's always good to save your math homework. Normally we would turn it into school when we're in school. But what I'd like you to do is save your math homework because tomorrow we are going to be having a quiz on what we've been learning so far in math. So I want to make sure that you can use these math homeworks as a way for you to help you with your quiz. So today what I want you to do is remember to save your math homework. It can come in handy. We're going to go ahead and move on now to our next assignment, our next part. And let's go ahead and take a look at that. And I'm just going to clear off all this chunk that I've been drawing on the screen. And now we're going to move on to our next part, which is watching math lesson 1.4. That means we're going to be going over how to represent the thousandths place. So what I'd like you to do is we're going to don't leave the meeting. I'm going to give you a chance to stand up and stretch while you get out your math notes. So if you've already got your math notes, great. You can stretch up for a little bit. We'll come back in about 9:20. If you don't have your math notes, and let me go ahead and make sure that you see what I'm talking about. Make sure you have your math notebook. If you don't have your math notebook, make sure that you have a lined piece of paper or some other paper that will help you to write down your notes. If you keep it in a binder, that's great. Make sure your math notes stay all together because it's really easy to lose them if we don't. Mr. Yates knows this because I've done that. So your math notebook should be out and ready to go. I'm going to give everybody about another minute to get their math notebook ready. Make sure that you have your math notebook open. It's the best way to get your math notes in there. And I'm just going to go ahead and get myself ready by getting the page ready. And it is just about 30 more seconds away, and we'll go ahead and start going on today. All right, let's go ahead and we'll begin right now in just another 10 more seconds. I want to get ready. Make sure you have your math notes. I'm going to go ahead and open up to a new page. Now, yesterday I wrote kind of big, so I actually used up 2 pages. I started here with 1.3 on one side, and then I had 1.3. That's my phone. Hello. 1.3 on the other side.
Came back?
Make sure, boys and girls, if you have phone, make sure you mute.
Are you on break?
All right, here we go. There we go. Make sure, boys and girls, it's now time for us to be ready with our next part of math. We're going to start our math notebook right here. I'm going to start a new page because I need to. Derek, you have a question?
Yeah, I didn't have enough time to do 1.3.
Derek, you did that yesterday. I did post a video about how to do the notes. So go to the link that's in the Mr. Yates' class, in the agenda, and go to that lesson and make sure that you review it and go ahead and get your notes from there, okay?
Okay.
Thanks, Derek. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with our notes right now. So boys and girls, what I'd like you to do, and I'll just answer questions one second. I want to get the first part started so that we can get ready. So we're going to put 1.4. This is our new math lesson for today. Boys and girls, that you have your microphone muted so that you kind of hear random sounds. I hear some people slipping through, so I'm just going to mute those. And Gab, you have a question? Because I want to get started.
Yeah, it's really quick. I only wrote on the front side. Am I allowed to continue using the back side?
Okay, totally fine. I just didn't because I used up my space on the back side of the paper. But if you have a blank, you always want to start with that. What you don't want to do, though, is you don't want to start halfway through because it's a little bit more challenging to find your lessons. always just keep them up at the top of a blank page. So if it's the back of a blank page, that's fine. All right, we're going to go ahead and start now with today's lesson. What I'd like you to do is take a look at your paper and take what we're going to do. And I just want to verify again to remind you that today what we're going to be doing is we're going to represent the thousandths place. So we're going to write these words here, and I'm going to write these words on the top as my title. We're going to represent the, and I think I have enough space here, thousandths. Yeah, and I'll just put place on the next line. Represent the thousandths place. I always exaggerate right here because I want you to make sure that you're using the thousandths place here. Boys and girls, if you have your microphone unmuted, I'm just going to mute microphones as I see them coming up, just in case, because we're hearing some background noise once in a while. So make sure you leave your microphone unmuted until I ask you to unmute it with the hand up. It makes it a little bit easier for us to hear the lessons. All right. I'm going to go ahead and record this one. Oh, I'm still recording, so that's all good. But I'm going to stop and make this a new recording